sorry, guys. My hand, I guess, touched something on this crazy phone. It's so sensitive, and it kind of cut us off. And we're going to pick up the generation that is thankful part two, where we left off a second ago. Please forgive me. This is the second part of that other video. So if you're watching this, I'm really, really new. I'm trying things out. I'm trying to learn how to do this. So be patient with me, guys, but I'm trying to give you some history here, uh, right as you would say from the horse's mouth, from someone who was there, who was not raised in uh, suburbs or able to go out and eat all the time, or able to have running water and gas or electric stoves and refrigerators and inside toilets and all that stuff. Okay, so we were talking about what you guys were drinking. You said you would boil your coffee, and I said, how did you put creamer in it? And you said, well, we didn't have creamer. We had canned milk sometimes, you said?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. Wow. Okay, so, and that was all you guys had to drink?
Well, we had milk sometimes,
Sometimes.
but we had to drink it right away. We didn't have a refrigerator.
So you had to, so it was pretty much so that would explain why they didn't really have gallons. Because just looking at some of the movies, it seemed like it was always like half gallons or quarts, and that would explain why, because you had to drink it all in one day. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
We had to use it up right away, or else we had either that or we had an ice box. Maybe we could keep it for a few hours, but not very long.
Well, that would make sense. Well, you guys didn't have Keurigs and coffee pots and any of that. So I'm trying to explain
Well,
to this.
we had a coffee pot. Everybody had usually a coffee pot, because almost everybody would drink coffee.
But it wasn't the coffee pot that we had like we have now.
No.
You're talking about almost like a tea kettle type thing where they would boil their coffee in. Am I right?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. So I'm trying to show this generation that they should be thankful for whatever they have. If you have secondhand clothes, be thankful for that. If you have any food at all, be thankful for that. Because as you're seeing in this series, my mom and the ones that were born around her time did not have the things that we have. So what we live in right now would be considered rich back then, right, Mom?
Yeah, we thought we were getting rich.
Wow.
My sister and I talked about that. I said, you know, the way we was raised, poor, very poor. I said, we're rich now in comparison to that. She said, yeah, I feel like I'm rich. Because she owned her own house, finally, and she had everything she needed, refrigerator and TV and all the things that we have now. But we didn't have that then. We didn't have a phone, and I had to go to a neighbor to make a phone call for my mom or my grandma.
Wow. So now, Grandpa had a car, right? No?
Usually a truck or a car. He had a green truck one time. And the kids would go to church in the wintertime wrapped up in a blanket on the back of the truck.
Wow, because it was snowing outside, right?
Because it was cold, yeah. So we had to dress warm, and we had to wrap up in a blanket or a quilt till we got to church.
And sometimes you walked, am I right?
Yeah, I did. I walked to Sunday school a lot of times.
So there was no bus.
Well, there were buses, but we didn't have the money for that.
Oh, wow. And so were there cabs back then?
Yeah, they had cabs. I had a cousin that was that worked for the Red Cab.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he used to come by and see us. He was my cousin.
So I think another question I wanted to ask was, because a lot of these kids now, their entertainment is phones and tablets and games and all that. So you guys didn't have that back then. So what did you guys do for entertainment?
Well, we had to jump the rope, and then we had puzzles and crayons and coloring books, things like that.
And so did the neighbors go out? Did you guys all play together outside, or how'd that?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So for this new generation, they didn't have PlayStation 5 or Xbox or Super
we didn't have
Nintendo
nothing like
or
that.
iPad and
Half of it didn't have electricity,
oh wow.
not for a long time.
So I guess without electricity you can't do much, can you? But I guarantee you were thankful when you did get it.
Yeah, my dad made my grandma's house with wiring so she could get electricity.
Oh, that was good.
But I was already 13 years old, and I had been there since I was 4.
Oh wow. So you were there for a while. Well,
And I had to go with my grandma a lot of times because she was elderly and they didn't want her going by herself. And I was the only one, I was the oldest one left at home, so I could go with her. See, you get my hand.
so you're talking about going to the movies?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you tell this, and then we're gonna stop this video until the next one. So tell about when I guess the man tried to steal from Grandma and she stabbed him in the hand.
Yeah. She used chewing tobacco, so she always had a knife, a little knife to slice it off.
Okay.
And she had her money underneath her apron and her clothes wrapped around her waist, and it was a little pouch. And this man was behind her and saw her roll it up and get the money out to pay for the show. So he followed us in, and when he got in there, he sat right next to her, and he was trying to roll her clothes up, and she went like this, got her knife out, opened it up, and when he got right like that, she grabbed him with the hand, with the knife, and sliced his hand.
Oh my goodness.
And the blood started running, and he jumped up screaming. She said, "That'll teach you. Don't try to take my money."
Ooh, Grandma was something else.
She was something else. And she wasn't afraid either. She was a little bitty woman, even littler than I am.
But she was feisty.
But she wasn't afraid. She had a knife, and don't mess with her. But that man was trying to rob her, and he had a right to stop her. And he screamed and ran out of there, blood shooting everywhere.
Well, I bet he taught him to steal, didn't it?
He said, "That'll teach you to try to take my money." She didn't get much money a month back then.
So they didn't have Social Security back then,
In the
right?
40-something, yeah. They didn't. I think they had to get a little something from the city or the state or something if you didn't have no job or nobody to take care of you. And Grandma still had a little money that came in, and she went out and made money. She would make quilts, beautiful quilts, and sell them. She would go out, take me with her, and get dandelion greens, and she would wash them and sell them in the neighborhood. She wasn't lazy. She still made money.
So back then there wasn't no sitting around. You had to work if you were going to make it, didn't you? You had to grind. You had to get out there and have some grit. The women and the men.
Yeah, that's right. When the women started during the Second World War, the women went and started working a lot, and they would work where they was raising the. I don't know exactly what they were doing, but they had men that they had to do things for because they were soldiers.
So it forced the women to go to work.
And it forced the women to go to work, yeah. And so they had to start letting them. They worked in factories. Sometimes they worked in houses with people, and people would pay them.
So before that, are you telling me that women weren't allowed to work at certain places?
They wasn't for a long time.
Wow.
Just like we wasn't allowed to vote. But finally, we got our vote in.
Oh, wow.
But that had to come about too. People had to work for that.
Wow.
Then we was able to vote.
So in conclusion of this video, I just want to tell you young people, as you're listening to all of this, this is not just someone telling stories. She's telling facts. This actually happened while she was coming up. So this is not just someone telling a story. This is not just a bedtime fairy tale. This is real.
That's
These
right.
things actually happened.
Now, everything I tell, it really happened.
Okay, so we're going to sign off for right now. And until next time, God bless. Work hard and remember to be thankful for what you have.